I remember when Wonder Woman came out in 2017. I watched it and I really enjoyed it. What I did not know was that a movie about the creator of Wonder Woman was released a few months later. The movie is called Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman, and it retells the story of how William Marston came up with the character of Wonder Woman and the inspiration he drew from two women who he was very close to. He would end up creating a character that represents the ideals of peace and justice that were a big part of the social philosophy of 1940s American culture. But who would have thought that the creator of such an influential character was a lawyer, psychologist, and a college professor who had a consensual polyamorous relationship with his wife and one of his former students? Today, we're going to talk about the story behind Dr. Marston and the Wonder Woman. Our tale begins with this young man, William Moulton Marston. Born in 1893 in Saugus, Massachusetts, he received his college education at Harvard, acquiring a BA in 1915. That same year, he married a woman named Elizabeth Holloway and continued his education, receiving a Bachelor of Laws in 1918 and a PhD in psychology in 1921. Soon, he began teaching at American University in Washington, D.C., as well as Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts. His wife Elizabeth held teaching positions at several universities as well, lecturing on ethics, law, and psychology. William met Olive in 1925 while she was attending his psychology course at Tufts University. She eventually became his research assistant. Olive's maternal aunt was Margaret Sanger, the famous birth control activist and controversial eugenicist. And with her notable familial connection to Sanger, Olive was well known around campus. William soon introduced Olive to his wife Elizabeth. As the three spent more time around each other, a relationship formed, and they started to live together after Olive symbolically married the couple on November 21st, 1925. She wore a pair of silver bracelets on each arm to represent their bond as a throuple. Apart from building an early version of the lie detector, William developed the DISC system of personality classification, a set of behavioral and personality analysis tools that are used for predicting job performance. It wasn't long before Olive and William began having children. They had two sons, Byrne, who was born in 1931, and Don, born in 1932. However, the couple decided to keep the boys in the dark about their paternity, telling them that their father had tragically died, leaving Olive a young widow and single mother who the Marstons let live with them. In 1933, Elizabeth became the assistant to the chief executive at Metropolitan Life Insurance and would keep that position for the next 25 years. William and Elizabeth formally adopted the boys in 1935. During that time, Olive held a job as a staff writer for Family Circle magazine. Under the pen name Olive Richard, she wrote pieces advising her readership on child-rearing and domestic culture. In fact, the first article she wrote for the magazine was a 1937 cover story about William. Pretending they were strangers, Olive wrote about his accomplishment producing one of the first polygraphs, her experience interviewing him, and quote-unquote meeting his children. Elizabeth began having children with William in 1938. They had a son named Peter and a daughter named Olive Ann. There was a third woman named Marjorie Wilkes Huntley who occasionally lived with the family. However, her exact relationship and role in the family are quite mysterious. In 1940, William did another magazine interview during which he shared his opinions about comics and ways he thought they could be improved to expand their reach to a larger age range. His views caught the attention of Max Gaines, a comics publisher, and he offered William a job as a consultant for DC Comics. Pretty soon, William wanted to try his hand at creating his own comic book character. By the time William began to pursue a career as a comic writer, superhero comics like Batman and Superman were notoriously gory, with the focus being primarily centered on the hero's ability to maintain order through brute force. William wanted to take a different approach to the superhero genre by creating a hero who maintained order, not only through his ability to apply force when needed, but also through his ability to appeal to human reason and have the capacity to offer compassion. Upon sharing his perspective with Elizabeth, she suggested William make his superhero a woman. And so, Suprema the Wonder Woman was born. He pitched Suprema the Wonder Woman to Max and explained his ideas of how he wanted to develop her as a character. Max loved the character, but hated the name. So, for the sake of length, Suprema the Wonder Woman's name was shortened to Wonder Woman, and with that, William got the green light to do his comic series. In creating Wonder Woman's personality and philosophy, William drew inspiration from the values of first-wave feminism. William was a feminist himself, and an enthusiastic proponent of first-wave feminist ideology. The various adaptations of Wonder Woman's iconic costume were inspired by the pinup art found in the popular centerfolds of Esquire magazine, created by Peruvian-American artist Alberto Vargas in the 1940s. Known as Varga Girls, these pieces acted as the blueprint for how William wanted his character to portray femininity. Wonder Woman's signature bullet-deflecting cuffs were inspired by the pair of silver bracelets Olive wore. He wrote his comics under the pen name of Charles Moulton, and Wonder Woman was debuted on October 21, 1941. Apart from writing about his message of justice and love, William also wanted to use his comics to explore his philosophy regarding diametric concepts like the nature of femininity versus masculinity and dominance versus submission. And many of the early illustrations in Wonder Woman comics depicts elements of these ideas. While William worked to grow his name in the comic world, Elizabeth supported the family financially, and Olive stayed home to assist William in writing comics and raise the Throuple's 4 children. William Marston's time with DC Comics, though impactful, was quite short, as he passed away 6 years later from cancer. Elizabeth and Olive continued their relationship, raising the children together. In 1963, Olive revealed to her sons that William was their real father, and Elizabeth paid all 4 children's way through university. When DC celebrated its 50th anniversary in 1985, William Marston was recognized alongside the likes of Jerry Siegel and Joy Shuster, the creators of Superman, as one of the most influential and instrumental contributors to DC's success and to the golden age of American comic books. Elizabeth and Olive stayed together until Olive's death in 1990. Elizabeth lived to be 100 years old, passing away in 1993. I came away from learning about William Marston surprised that the creator of Wonder Woman had such an unconventional life. It was not what I was expecting to find, considering he lived in 1940s American society. Also, I was surprised by just how much his work was inspired by Elizabeth and Olive. Everything from elements of Wonder Woman's costume design to the fact that he made her female in the first place was a result of the influence his partners had on his life. And he succeeded at creating a character that continues to be well loved around the world. As far as her cultural impact, Wonder Woman is everywhere. TV shows, magazine covers, cereal boxes, just everywhere. And her character embodies the ideals of moral fortitude, strength, and compassion. I believe she represents the interdependent role women must play alongside men, mutually depending on and supporting each other in order to maintain harmony and a sense of direction for our society. At the time that Wonder Woman was created, America had been experiencing a shift in its views regarding the relationship between men and women. This was a time where people had begun to question assumptions we had made about the relational roles between men and women. Was it reasonable for a man's role to be solely one of dominance and a woman's role to be solely one of submission? Or were men and women actually meant to exist together as complementary forces wherein they jointly swapped roles as needed? It was fascinating to learn that the way these integral truths were being explored in the Wonder Woman comics came from a man who lived such an untraditional, countercultural lifestyle. And I think that whether one agrees with his lifestyle or not, William Marston was such a deep thinker. And although he didn't live long enough to see the full extent of his influence on culture, I believe that his art and the enjoyment it brought to millions will continue to speak for his talent as a storyteller. His scholastic accomplishments, art, and stories were his lasting mark on this world. And those are things that even death itself can never take away from him. So, have you seen Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman? And does the lifestyle of William Marston affect how you see Wonder Woman in any way? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.